Hey everyone, welcome to the recap. We are here live every week during the show seasons. I'm your host, Tamara, and I'm so glad you're here. A special thank you to our live audience for taking time out of your evening to be here with us. Joining me is my fantastic co host, Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey, Tamara. Hey, everyone. My name is Lisa Orban. I am an author. I'm also the founder of Indies United Publishing House, and I love all things pop culture.
Okay, so before we dive in, a few quick things. First, we want to hear from you. If you're live, use the YouTube comment section. If you're on the replay, you can still comment or use the speak pipe link in the show notes to leave us a voicemail. Second, please hit that subscribe button. Follow us so you never miss an episode. All of the links for both me and Lisa are in the show notes, so you can find us on our socials. And finally, but most importantly, a huge spoiler alert. We do not do scene by scene breakdowns. We jump around and we discuss all the things throughout the world freely, right, Lisa?
Absolutely, Tamara.
We're going to just jump on in today. We are doing the season premiere, season 3 of Daryl Dixon. What'd you think?
Uh, I actually rather liked it.
Yeah?
I did. It was kind of a fun episode. It was kind of interesting to see Carol not being the one taking care of things, but having to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally she's the one that's, kicking ass and taking names and I mean, and Daryl's right there, right alongside her, don't get me wrong, but this is one of the few episodes we've really seen Carol at a point where she really wasn't able to take care of herself.
Yeah, she definitely needed some help. She was injured. And yeah, I did like seeing that dynamic. I also liked seeing them I guess, kind of return to the roots of kind of talking to each other.
Mhm.
And so that was like reminiscent of the old days to me.
Yeah.
And she's calling him out for hiding stuff and he's okay, fine. Their relationship growth was good. So we can see that things have been happening, as the time has been passing, right? They're not
Mhm.
walking in silence. But also, I did like the whole vibe of like kind of traveling and surviving,
Mhm.
place to place, looking for food, fighting the walkers. That kind of thing is a throwback to me, and I definitely like that.
And I'm pretty sure that can of hot dogs is just gonna be an ongoing gag for the rest of the season. I'm
It's
sure of it at this point.
it's gonna be nasty. I cannot imagine. She's gonna open that thing, and she's gonna be so disappointed. It's gonna be nasty.
Oh god. I'm gonna be real I've never heard of hot dogs in a can. I mean, Vienna sausages, yes, but hot dogs? Have you ever had hot dogs in a can?
I have not. Maybe it's a British thing, maybe
It
it's a UK thing.
it might be a UK thing. I'm not sure. All I know is I've never seen hot dogs in a can before.
No, me neither.
Um, and they're probably what at this point, 15 years old or more?
Or more, yeah. Nasty.
I will say this, I did kind of find this interesting. So, people really don't talk about their age too much on this show, you know?
Mhm,
And when they were on the bridge and Daryl was like, "I was really young when this whole thing first started."
mhm.
And I'm like, "God, he really was, wasn't he?"
Yeah, he was like a child. Like, have you seen any of those old videos of them? It's like, wow, night and day how different he looks.
Yeah. I guess, because we've been watching this for so long and, so we've just watched him, it's not like we saw him at the very first episode and now, you know what I
Mhm,
mean? So
mhm.
it's not like this sudden aging or anything. We've watched him mature and everything. but I got to really that really made me think. I'm like, "Man, he was, like, probably what, maybe 18 or so
Mhm.
when the apocalypse happened?"
Yeah. Yeah, he's really young, and
Yeah.
now he's not so young, and honestly, it shows. Everyone looks a little bit worse for the wear, but, I guess that would happen in the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
You age a little faster.
Well, if he didn't if he looked just as dewy-eyed as he did on the very first episode, I mean, I'd have some questions.
Yeah, like, what vampire stuff is he drinking?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I will say, I mean, he didn't exactly look dewy-eyed. I mean, he was pretty hard even at the very beginning.
Yeah, but he had a baby face, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when he said, I grew, this is, I was a kid, and yeah, he really was, and I kinda liked that reminder.
Yeah, actually, I think so. I suspect this season we're gonna get a lot more of Daryl's history, stuff we've never seen before,
Mhm,
because that remember the flashback that we were getting during this episode? That was kind of interesting to me, so I'm curious to see, as the season goes on, what we're gonna learn about Daryl, what will be uncovered about him and his past that influences him now that we
mhm,
don't already know.
yeah. Yeah,
That
because they talked a lot about what was going on as they went through the tunnel and the hallucinations they had,
Yeah.
and, and he really was very reluctant to talk about what he saw,
Mhm.
but then he finally kind of opened up to Carol about it, and Carol was like, "I found it very cathartic." And I could see from her point of view why her experience, while not it wasn't great what they went through on that tunnel, in a way, it really kinda helped her put to rest some of her demons.
Yeah, it gave her release, but it didn't do that for Daryl, at least not that we know of yet.
Yeah. No, it seemed to have stirred up a lot of stuff
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
he's not the kind of person that's ever really dwelled on the past.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't talk
He
about it. He keeps it again, he keeps it to himself, right?
Right,
He hides things. I
and
don't
he
know.
doesn't he will occasionally talk about his brother Earl, and he did speak a little bit last season when they had him in that classroom area and they were trying to interrogate him.
Mhm.
He did speak a little bit about when he was young, but it was not, you know, an emotional sharing.
Right.
So, yeah, I think this trip has, really brought up a lot of unresolved feelings in Daryl.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree. So I think that's some groundwork that was laid for his story, which is good.
Mhm.
I don't really know what we're in store for with Carol. I have no guesses, but I kind of side note to this, I noticed that this season does not have a subtitle, which I'm really happy about
Yeah.
because I did not want another subtitle, so they did not do that to us. So I'm not sure how, obviously Carol and Daryl are together all the time
Mhm.
for most of this show. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with her this season because she seems like on her healing path finally.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, in more ways than one because I'm sure she has a concussion.
Hmm.
She's got she's seeing everything in triple, as she said.
She might
Uh,
be walking around in the wilderness
yeah.
of Spain, like, "Oh,
Well, I think when she got up and she started to wander away, there were young girl voices off in the distance.
oh god.
And Carol is not her normal cautious self,
No, she is not."
kind of like, when Daryl covered her
Mhm.
and, keep them, from being found. And she's like, "No, it's hot. It's hot." You know?
I'm like, "You're Delulu, girl, shut it, shut up."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Daryl had to put his hand over her mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's almost childlike in a way right now, just not real. She's not being very cautious. She's not thinking ahead. She seems to be having some trouble processing. And I'm sure that will go away as she heals, but that's not uncommon for, someone who's had a major head injury. That's a, you know huge knot, and she had the infection. Did you happen to see what it was that he pulled out of her shoulder?
It was some kind of metal square, like squarish shaped thing that was flat. So I don't know exactly. I guess it must have just been something from the boat, I
Yeah.
guess.
I wasn't, I was like, because I couldn't quite make out what it was, so I thought maybe,
Yeah,
and
I
I
was
was
like,
sure it was something from the boat.
yeah. That scene, I'm like, just pull it out. Hurry up. What are you doing? Just pull it out.
Yeah.
Like, "Why are you doing taking so long? You're making it worse." Yeah. Well, we'll see what Carol does. I do think, though, like, even thinking about when, Julian showed up on their balcony, right? She was
Mhm.
instantly nice to him, and, of course, they did have a ulterior motive, right? They
Right.
wanted some help, but she was nice,
Mhm.
and usually she's not that nice out the gate to anyone, even when she's trying to manipulate them. So, I feel like she was a little bit different, so I
Right.
guess we're gonna see if it's just the head injury or if because she's on this healing journey after her experience in that tunnel, she feels softer now,
Mhm. Well, when
maybe?
they were on the boat, when they were sitting there having the coffee or gin or whatever it was in the cups, um, she said, I feel lighter. I
Mhm.
don't feel as, you know, mean. I shouldn't
Yeah.
say mean, but, that she wasn't feeling as brittle anymore.
Right.
Um, and she was feeling hopeful, which is something that she really hasn't felt in a honestly, I'm not sure Carol has ever felt that.
Mhm.
Because I mean, she was going through her own personal hell even before the apocalypse. She had a very abusive husband. She had her daughter who she did love. But, it couldn't have been a great she wasn't having a great life even before the walkers showed up.
Yeah, she really didn't have a break, honestly. It was one thing to another to another. She had
And
moments where she was in love, but, that was
yeah, and she really hasn't had, I don't think Carol has had a lot of grace in her life.
mhm.
And I didn't mean that as a joke either, I'm sorry.
Yeah, oh.
Sorry about that. I meant it in the other way, but, she's really had a hard life, and I mean, and, she went from this very timid and broken person to, someone who became very competent and, a a leader of sorts,
Mhm.
but she was always still very brittle, and she lost her daughter and, she lost, her adopted son and, the kids that she had gathered up after the fall of the prison,
Mhm.
all that bad. And, so she's had a real tough go of it, and, Rick kicking her out for killing the people that had the disease. And
Yeah, right.
yeah, she hasn't had the best luck here.
No, she hasn't.
So it's kind of nice. I mean, I think we're seeing kind of a side that we've actually never seen from Carol, which is someone who is not quite as brittle, quite as broken, maybe a little more open
Mhm.
to people and experiences because she told them that she was excited about what they were going to see.
Mhm.
So that's very different than normal Carol.
Yeah, it is.
And I can't say that I hate it. It's nice to see that they've given her some peace.
Yeah, I like that. It's good to see different versions of her, which we have seen over the years, right? We've
Yeah.
seen different iterations of her, but I like this one and I like their relationship right now. I kind of just like, I think for the first episode, they did a good job with that part. So I'm curious to see what's next. But one thing they did in this episode that I didn't really love, which is something they've been doing a lot in the Daryl Dixon world, his show, is that's like we get these characters that seem really interesting and then they kill them immediately.
Yeah. Well, I I do know that the character they had, he was only available for one episode.
Yeah.
So that wasn't just them killing him off to kill him off. They had to if they were going to have him on the show.
Well, I thought that they wanted someone to be that, you know, that catalyst and they knew that that person would die and they said, "Hey, is this guy available?" "Sure. Yeah, he could do it and he's available for one day." Perfect. Not that they made that. that character for him. That's not what I understood. Is that
Yeah.
wrong?
Well, the way they were talking is, I think they had initially planned to have that character on there just a little bit longer.
Mm,
And I could be wrong on that, maybe I misunderstood.
mhm.
But he's like, "Nope, you got me for one day." And they went, "Okay, here we go."
Well, they did a lot of scenes in one day
Mhm.
because Julian, the character, he's all over this episode. He was on that whole trip, but I liked him. I thought that could have been a good addition to their little group. And of course, I always know don't get too attached to any of the characters we meet
Right.
along the way because they discard them like no one's business, as we know, because we didn't even hear anything about those previous characters from last season. Nothing.
Mhm.
It was like they never existed, basically.
Although I will say when Julian got the head injury,
Mhm.
my first thought was, "Oh, he's gonna die on the bottom of that boat and,
That's what
they're
I
gonna
thought.
have to, like, jump or something."
That's what I thought. I said, "He's gonna turn while he's down there,"
Mhm.
but he did not. He turned later, which was not surprising at all. So, but that is like typical. I think we're gonna meet a lot of people this season that we may or may not like, and they're gonna be just gone by
Yeah.
the end of the season. Maybe some of them will carry over, maybe not, doubt it. I feel like they wanted to it felt this episode felt like a clean slate almost. Totally disconnected to me from last season.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they do refer they talked a little bit about Lauren. They talked a little bit about going through the tunnel. I
Yeah.
did enjoy the little play on there, "Oh, I guess this is why they call it batshit crazy."
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they had to do those kinda like throwaways or whatever, but
Mhm.
ultimately, you could start watching this right now, season 3, episode 1,
Mhm.
and not feel disconnected from anything, not feel like you missed anything.
Because, Carol and Daryl are together, they're not looking for each other, we don't we know you can see just by the way they are on screen right now why they are important to each other.
Mhm.
And, so yeah, I think you're right. I think if someone who hasn't watched the previous episodes or even isn't very familiar with The Walking Dead,
Mhm.
they could probably jump in right here and because they're trying to get home, but home doesn't mean a whole lot right now because it's been, what, a year or 2 now that they've been over there?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It's been a while.
Mhm. It has been a while, and so long. I wonder what the people at home are thinking. You think they think they're dead?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it is very possible that they think that, that they're still alive, but just can't get back
Mhm.
because, I mean, they know that both Carol and Daryl are survivors. They do know that Carol left to go find Daryl,
Right.
and Carol did have that one last message before she was disconnected with Alexandria.
Mhm.
So, that didn't last very long, and she didn't get all the information. But,
Mhm.
they at least knew at that point she was still alive and looking for Daryl.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know, I'm curious to see. I think personally, if I obviously, the end of this series, which will be next season, it's
Mhm,
already said. I think obviously the end will be they actually make it home. If
mhm.
they don't make it home, I will be so angry. Like, what was the point of all this? So I ultimately, at the end, they will make it home. And we may or may not have a Rick, interaction. People have been murmuring about that. It's funny. We just started season 3 and people are already thinking about the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, since we know that it's gonna end, and it
Mm,
would I mean, honestly, it would be kinda cool to me because I haven't heard any rumors. I mean, I know The Walking or Dead City is gonna have one more season, but I don't know if it's gonna go beyond that either.
mhm, mhm,
I think it would be kind of cool if this was kind of the end for this universe,
mhm.
uh, to have Carol and Daryl return and see Morgan, who's returned with his daughter,
Oh, that would be nice.
and to see Rick with Michonne and the kids, and you know, Daryl had a really close relationship with Judith. to be able to, say I made it home, you know? And I would not be unhappy if the final episode was just getting back as many of the characters from all of the universes that
Mhm.
had interacted
Yeah.
for a final goodbye.
I wouldn't hate it. I think it would be satisfying to everyone who hung in there
Yeah,
and watched all of these shows.
yeah.
Like,
If
please.
if they because we'll have this season and then Dead City will come up in between, and I'm thinking that that's their last season.
Mhm.
Um, and then if this is the last season of Carol and Daryl, the Daryl Dixon show, um, then that would be, they could have that final episode with Daryl and Carol walking in and having, and again, there's Morgan and Rick and all these people that have been flung throughout the universe.
Right.
Even Maggie can go back up. "Hey, look, I brought electricity." I don't know.
Right, we don't know. Whatever.
Whatever. And I mean, it would be kind of a really nice little send off, and I'm not saying everyone back, but all the actors that might want to come in for just that one last episode. It would be really kind of cool.
Yeah, I think so too. But okay, so back to this episode. I got on
Okay.
a tangent, sorry. What else? So, I think so again, every time there's something I like, there is something to counter that I don't like. For example, like I really liked the time on the boat when the storm was coming. The storm looked cool. We saw in the little after discussion how it was all
Mhm.
CGI and all that. It
Right.
looked really good. It was all exciting. Yay, cool. And then like this climax comes and then the next thing you know, they're just washed up on the shore. I'm like, "No. No." I hated that so much.
Yeah, I'm like, "What happened?" And here's my question. If they were only 11 days out from North America,
Mhm.
how did they get back in Spain?
Exactly. He says 11 to 17 days. That's how long it should have taken. I'm like, did they get turned? They must got turned around. I don't
I mean,
know.
I know a storm can push a boat a lot faster, don't get me wrong, but either they were way closer to Europe than I thought they were,
Mhm.
or I mean, I guess, and we don't know how long the storm lasted either, because again, it went from the storm to, you know, them washed up. So, I
Mhm.
mean, if it was a multi-day storm, a big one that
Mhm.
really pushed them hard,
Mhm.
maybe so, but yeah, I'd like to know. I would have liked to have known what happened.
Yeah, same because they did not get very far
Mm-mm.
because just how the countries all connect, Spain would be like it's south of the UK,
Yeah,
right? Just a little bit, like southwest, but not that far. So,
almost back where they started in France.
yeah. Yeah. Which is interesting. So, but again, like they kind of play us a little bit when it comes to the timing of anything.
Yeah.
And we've said that time and time again. They could have been in the water 3 days, a week before he said that. And he figured like he felt like they might have been lost.
Mhm.
It could have
Yeah,
been that afternoon. It could have been, I don't know how long it was, but one would think they would have been further out, too far to be, you know, on the shores of Spain, but
yeah.
maybe
Although
not.
my brain was, because he was freaking out over the, that whole, I just, this is what washed me out. I don't know, how to navigate, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? As long as you hit anywhere, North America, South America, anywhere in that direction, as long as you are heading, towards the sun,
Mhm.
or away from the sun. Wait a minute. Which way does the sun come up? It rises in the east, it sets in the west. So as long as the sun is behind them
Right.
in the morning and they're sailing towards it at night, they're going in the right direction. That's all that really matters. It's water.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot in the middle of the Atlantic.
No. Actually, I love the part where they find the map and Carol says, "That's not how you spell Mexico."
Right.
Like, "Girl, no, you're not in Mexico. This is not right. We're not where we're supposed to be."
But yeah, I mean, because again, I mean, if you're aiming for a particular location, like if they were trying to hit Florida or if they were trying to hit, Canada or
Maine or
whatever,
something, yeah.
then mapping out where you are by the stars and everything else would be important. As long as all you're trying to do is hit a continent as large as North America,
Yeah,
I mean, as long as you're pretty much aligned with the sun, you're fine
right.
because
I
you're just
agree.
going from east to west.
Mhm,
I mean, north and south might be a little bit more difficult, but they're going from the east to the west.
mhm.
So, sun's behind him in the morning and it's in front of him at night. And as long as that's happening, you're good.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. It's weird, but okay, so they're in Spain now. I think one interesting thing about them, once they landed there pretty quickly, these people, I don't know if they're going to be villains or antagonists, or what. The people with the mask on, they
Yeah.
looked pretty interesting. I'm like, "What is this? They trying to scare people with these masks?" They're looking kind of intimidating,
Yeah.
obviously. And, Daryl had to hide. They hid out like, "Oh my god, who is
Yeah.
that?" But I thought that was interesting. I wanna see what's gonna happen with them. But from, like, the little commercials and stuff I've seen, I'm not sure if we're gonna see them right away again.
I think they're going to turn out to be the bad guys, the ones because we know that they're going to find a community. Apparently the community has to give tribute to
Mm,
another group,
mhm.
and I think that that's gonna turn out to be these guys.
Yeah. But so does that mean we're in store for another community fight that Daryl gets involved in? You know what I mean? Like, another
Yeah. Well,
it's yeah.
I do know because I watched the previews for the season upcoming,
Mm,
you know, overview that they were doing at the end of the show,
mhm.
and, Daryl was saying to Carol, "I don't wanna do this again. We can just let these people be. We don't have to come in and help this whole community figure out how to do things."
But of course they will.
And Carol's just like, "But we need to be there to help them," and I think Daryl's done with that whole idea.
See, soft-hearted Carol, we have to help them.
Yeah. So,
But
I don't know, and it's hard to say. I'm pretty sure that Carol has been picked up by people from that community that she
mm,
wants to help.
mhm.
So, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, because I think it was that community that was in the Jeep, because they just, like, look like regular people, They weren't trying to have masks on and scare people, when he saw the Jeep drive by and then he ran back and Carol was gone. So, she probably did run into those people,
Mhm.
and, I guess we'll see what happens, but it feels very wash repeat to me right now with that, like, with the whole community thing,
Yeah.
helping communities. Even how they came to shore, like, someone had mentioned that that is exactly what happened to Daryl basically in season 1. And
Yeah.
even from finding the map to figure out where he was, he saw something and he read and figured out where he was.
Yeah.
So it's kinda like copy paste? Is that what they're doing?
I have a feeling I mean, I don't think that Daryl and Carol will walk away from this community, but at the same time, I kinda hope that there's more of them wandering and meeting more communities and trying to do different things this
Mm,
season.
mhm,
I mean, I know that they stripped the boat down, but that
mhm.
doesn't mean that they couldn't go back and fix the boat.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that.
So, I wouldn't mind seeing, a couple episodes of, Daryl trying to fix a boat.
I mean, because honestly, unless they happen to run across someone else with a plane, which would be stupid if they did,
Yeah.
they have to get back in the water to make it
Yeah.
to the United States. So that's the only 2 ways you can get there, boat or plane. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not like they're gonna take a train across the water,
No, not at all.
and I don't see 'em swimming it.
No. But I am curious to see, what's gonna happen here. Is it gonna feel more like a repeat, just a different group of people, slightly different situation, obviously different language, right?
Right.
But is it the same kind of feeling? Are they doing the same thing? I hope not, but we'll find out.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we know that Daryl was in France long enough that he started speaking French, so we know that he was there for a while,
Mhm.
you know?
He
Um,
was.
and I don't think that they're going to have him or Carol together. I don't think they're gonna have them settle in,
Mhm.
um, because he was all ready to go. He would have left on that boat, but then, well, Laurent and, you know, that whole thing. So, it'd be
Yeah.
and whoever that boat captain was, apparently, I mean, they seem to make landfall not regularly, but it seems to be a sort of run, so maybe they could run into that person again.
Mhm. I don't know, I guess we'll have to see. But, we didn't talk about London at all. We didn't really talk about
Big Ben.
yeah, or hell, all those walkers
That was a
or
lot of walkers.
yeah, what was he calling them? He was calling them
Squid.
squid, yeah.
And he had this whole explanation why he's like, "See? Simple." I'm like, "Alright, okay, whatever." You
It
know?
was like A to B, B to C, C to D, E to
Yeah.
F. Okay, here we are, squid. No, I sure, whatever you say.
Squid's like, "Squid," and this is and I'm like, "No, I'm gone, I'm lost."
Yeah.
I do and I guess because there hasn't been anyone else there since they knocked out the tunnel, I guess these walkers have just been uh, sleeping isn't the right term, but I guess in their non-active state,
Yeah. I
and,
think, these are just all the citizens of London that
yeah,
died because Julian was saying, yeah, nothing could get in, but no one could get out either. So all the people just perished
yeah,
slowly. Now they're all, I guess, kind of in they were, when it's quiet and nothing's moving around, they're just kind of there in a
yeah.
stasis, kind of, I guess.
Well, and it does kind of, though, make me wonder because, I mean, Carol and Daryl walked for quite a while. I mean, they walked across the countryside, they walked into the city, and there wasn't a single walker.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering why he couldn't, during one of their quiet times, have snuck out of the city like they walked in,
Yeah.
instead of ziplining across. I mean, and even if he's ziplining across the country, I realize that they've kind of blocked off London, but I would hope that the whole of England is not like that.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't know, but I know that the ziplining thing was kind of cool, but it was also a throwaway, kind of like they did in Dead City. Remember in the first season of Dead City, we saw
Yeah.
them ziplining, and
Uh-huh.
then we never saw it again.
Well, that's because it was that one group of it wasn't the normal people that we ended up following. It was that one smaller group that was trying to stay away from them that was doing the ziplining.
Yeah, but still, I feel like if they think that's the best way to get around because of all of the dead, then maybe some people from the other group would have used it. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm nitpicking. Maybe. But, here we got to see one scene of it, of course, because they only were in London for literally 2 seconds.
Yeah.
We never got to see that infrastructure, go to work or anything. He just
Right.
showed up here, he's on the balcony.
Right. Well, we know that according to the little, you know, uh, the place card there, 2 weeks later,
Right.
so they were there for quite a while. I wonder what they were eating other than candy.
Candy, they obviously went through every apartment in that building.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure they found some stale crackers or more chili or I don't know, whatever, tomatoes. I don't know, random canned stuff that people have in their cupboards
Yeah.
that can be there for 15 years and not go bad. That would be harder to do in that country, I think, because they don't use as many preservatives as we do.
Well, there's that, and, I mean, they don't have unlike America, they don't have a lot of guns,
No.
uh, and they don't even really have the wildlife like we do here. Pretty much most of England is well, it's pretty well cultivated.
Mhm.
I mean, and there's a reason for that. It's an island nation, and it's not very big.
No, it's not very big. It's Honestly, so many of the countries are so small. That's how they're able to go to, like, "I'm spending the weekend in this country," it's like a train ride,
Right.
and you're there, and you can't get out of one of our states in the US that, it takes hours and hours and hours just to get out of one state, seems
Right.
like, so
Yeah, it's was a comedian. I was listening to a comedian once, and he was talking about it. He's like, "You can drive for 7 hours and still be in Texas. You don't understand. If you drive 7 hours in the European Union, you know, you're like 7 countries away and the cheese tastes funny."
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true, it's facts, though, so, yeah, the England is not a big country, not really.
No, and, I mean, they have separate towns and stuff, but I mean, they're really walking distance from each other.
Mhm.
And, and it's pretty hard for Americans to kinda wrap their head around it, which is why I said I'm kinda surprised, and it wasn't that he said that when he said he couldn't get out, if he meant he couldn't get out of London or couldn't get out of the UK. You know what I mean?
I think he meant London, I think, because, they blocked off the entry and exit to that city, like, that was the biggest city.
Yeah, but Carol and Daryl just walked right in.
They sure did, because everybody was dead.
Yeah. So that's why I'm
I don't
saying I
know.
don't know because he technically could have walked out the same way they walked in.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Maybe he didn't want to. He's been alone for so long, maybe he was just comfortable there,
Yeah.
maybe.
Um, because I mean, with them walking, I mean, they walked a while,
Mhm.
across some bridges and some countryside, and they never saw any walkers. And they were quite a ways into London, actually. It wasn't until they got that walker there in the phone booth actually noticed him and started pounding that
I
the other.
think look, it's not go like they're gonna start explaining stuff to us now at this late stage in the game.
They're not.
We're not gonna know why, why did Julian not try to leave? Why were the walkers only in, like, the, small, dense area? I don't know. I guess we're just supposed to just take it at face value as we
Yeah,
always are supposed to with this show.
yeah, because we didn't, as they walked across the countryside, they didn't see any. I mean, they didn't
Mm-mm.
see a whole lot of anything actually in England.
No.
And now I suppose it's possible because, as things were raging that, you know, people were just coming from the countryside into London, and
Mhm.
because it was barricaded.
Mhm.
And so most of the country was there when it collapsed.
Mhm.
And it turns out it wasn't just the dead that killed London, it was factions and people fighting and resources. I'm sure, resources were not great.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't know. Mm. Let's see. What else? What else did we not Oh, what did you think of the intro? Did you like the new intro?
Yeah, it was kinda cool.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I like that they used, like, the same music, but kind of changed it just a little bit.
Yeah. Had a little bit of a Spanish flair to it.
Mhm. Absolutely. It was cool. I liked it. I kinda liked how it started and it had the quote at the beginning,
I have my
uh,
dead.
"And I have let them go."
Mhm.
Yeah, so, I mean, actually, to be honest, this episode was nicely done between, like, the CGI work, how things look, the color grading. It was very nice looking. It was nice looking. It wasn't too dark,
Yeah.
wasn't
I did
too
appreciate that.
yeah. Because you know how we had issues with, like, Fear the Walking Dead, that color gradient they had on that thing.
Oh god. They have you in dark tunnels and, dark and I'm like, "Just let us see what's going on, for God's sakes." And I do know that, like, the picture you have here, they actually, uh, were using, drones and stuff to take video footage of, like, this parts,
Mhm.
and then they were kinda stitching everything in together.
Yeah, they actually didn't do any physical, like, recording in London at all. All of it was actually done in Spain, with
Mhm.
exception of this drone footage, so they, like, transformed the whole street
Yeah.
to look like it was London. from, like, a certain floor up, it was all CG work, CGI
Uh-huh.
work. Well, very interesting. I mean, they've got skills. They've done a good job with that.
Mhm.
I can't
Oh, yeah.
complain that way.
Yeah, I didn't really didn't feel fake.
Mhm.
There was a nice feel to it. And they were talking that I guess it was just horribly hot when they were had all those walkers. Or like
Mhm.
everyone's in all the makeup and it's just super, super hot and they had all the shrubbery and stuff attached to them. And so, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it was good. I liked it. All of it. I visually, it was a great episode, like,
Mhm,
and again, I did like the interactions between Daryl and Carol, like the interactions with the new guy, Julian. Actually liked the new character. I was
mhm.
disappointed they had to kill him off so quickly, but, I get it. Um, it wasn't bad. It was not a bad first episode. Was it the most exciting thing I ever watched? No. But is it ever any?
Well, and I think this was our setup episode. This was introducing us to a softer side of Carol,
Mhm.
maybe a little more open to discussion.
Mhm.
Daryl, even giving Carol some actual vulnerability,
Mhm.
where she's not, her able to be up to her normal self, even if she
Mhm.
wanted to be. And they gave us some really nice time between the two of them that didn't feel strained.
Right. Yeah, I
And,
agree.
kind of them because the whole time that they were in France while they were together, even though they were together, there was just so much going on.
Mhm.
And there was so much stress and there was so much, it was just bam and bam and bam. And even when things kind of slowed down and they were going through the tunnel and everything, I mean, there was just really no time for them, the two of them to talk or take
Right.
a breath. So, their walk across the countryside and everything was just really kinda, and the time on the boat and even in the apartment was just really kinda nice. It
Mhm.
kinda gave them some time to reconnect.
Yeah, which they need. They needed that, she
Mhm.
did come all that way to find him,
Yeah.
which that was, like, really nice when she thought they were gonna die. She's like, "Hey, I'm glad I found you." He's like, "Shut up. Don't say it.
Yeah.
Don't say."
Don't say it. We're gonna make it through. We've gotten this far.
Yeah.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, exactly. But she's like, "Well, I'm glad I found you." So, that was nice. So I really they are I think I like them the best. They're the best friends team up, I
Yeah.
think, in this world. They really play well off of each other. These 2 actors, they really do well
Yeah.
together.
I mean, they really do. I mean, they're like brother and sister,
Mhm.
They really do love each other. You can see that they truly care for each other.
Yeah.
Not romantically. Let's be
Right.
really clear on this. Not romantically. They're
We're
just
not one of those
yeah.
guys.
Um, but no, I mean,
Yeah.
they have this really deep, abiding friendship. And it's really I enjoy watching the 2 of them they complement each other well.
Mhm. They do.
And there's not like, a lot of times in a power dynamic, like with 2 people, there's always someone that's really competent, and then they'll have someone that just bumbles along.
Mhm.
And that's not what these 2 are. I mean, they are both very competent people. They can survive on their own. They have survived on their own, and they choose to be with each other. And
Right.
they have this really close relationship. And I really like that I think part of the I think the reason I liked this episode was it was reinforcing that closeness between the 2 of them.
Because we're about to, like, not really have much of that after this, I
Right.
think. It's gonna be the focus is gonna change.
Right. But
Yeah.
this is the lull before the storm, so to speak.
Mhm. Well, I'm curious to see what happens next, if Carol gets her regular vision back,
Yeah.
if Daryl can find her, which we know he will
Yeah.
because of the previews, but, they tried to make us feel like, Oh, no, he can't find her, but we all are like, "It's fine. You'll find her next episode." But, yeah, I don't know, I'm curious to see how it goes, and, of course, seems like the people speak English just fine.
Yeah. So that's kind of a nice
So,
change.
yeah, I don't know how much Spanish we'll be hearing, maybe some, maybe a good amount, but not as much French, I'm guessing. I don't know. So if you had to rate this episode 1 out of 10, curious, where would you put it?
I'd give it a solid 8.
Okay. I'm right next to you. I'd give it like a 7. It was good, you know, not bad, but not one of the best of the series, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's we've had to really lower our expectations over the years.
Mhm.
But
We have.
even so, I mean, I really did like this episode. I thought it was nice to see Carol and Daryl together. It was nice to just their comfortable friendship and, everything else. And like I said, I am positive that can of hot dogs is gonna be an ongoing gag for the
Oh,
rest
I'm
of the
sure.
season.
Assuming they can find the silly hot dogs. Did they have them with them when they left the boat? Did they have
Yeah.
them? They did? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
So, they took everything but left those, hot dogs.
I think actually Daryl had him in his backpack.
Okay, so they were with them over where they were
Yeah.
kind of on the beach or whatever?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because, those hot dogs are important now.
Mhm. Apparently, very interesting. Okay, well, I can't think of anything else. Do you have any other
No,
things
I
for us
think
to
we're
chat
we're
about?
pretty good here.
Yeah, I think so. This was a really strong start. It was a good conversation. I think it's a great place to end it. Lisa, this was fun as always.
As always.
Yes, and a huge thank you to everyone in the live tonight. We appreciate you for doing that and sticking with us through the whole episode. If you want to be a part of the conversation next week, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And remember, the links to find us are waiting for you in the show notes. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye, everyone.